Well, hello, and welcome to round number 4 of Phoenix World Championship, coming to you from Tor Poznan, a circuit located in Poland, which will host one and only race of the day today. It is going to be wonderful, hopefully. 40-minute race plus a new qualifying format for the series, as we see a practice going on and a few drivers taking a spill here, there and everywhere, looking for some opportunities, some advantages and seemingly some walls, namely photon burst, currently found a little bit of a limit. So we still have 10 minutes of practice left before we proceed to the new format, which is a one-lap shootout for everyone. So every driver will have exactly one lap to set their running time and make sure that their time is first of all fast and second of all valid. This is the important part. So you gotta make sure that the time that you set, since it's the only time you are gonna set, is valid. Otherwise, there is going to be a problem for you in terms of, well, not having a fast time. So the only lap time required, well, lap time that's valid would be essentially your outlap. So that's, I'm just gonna say that's not an optimal way to start your race, especially since we just have one race. It's gonna be a 40-minute race with a mandatory stop at some point. So if you started on the back foot, that might not be the best idea for yourself. At the same time, some drivers are gonna try their best to set that fast lap and then try to run away from the field. We're gonna see a couple different tactics probably, considering we have an update for the soft tire compound. It is set to be a little bit more viable for short runs, so it's likely getting used in the qualifying, and maybe somebody is gonna use it in the race to try for the last few laps and maybe try to catch up towards the end. As cars are slowly finishing their practice laps, we still have about 7 minutes left. So with 6.5 minutes to go, looking for all the drivers currently preparing to take part. Some might still be joining. So looking at essentially the championship so far, specifically the last round at Watkins Glen, looks like the race control and specifically the stewards are not in the best of moods after that race. We had quite a few penalties for the 2 races at the Glen, most of them for the track limit violations, and I believe we had a total of 6 time penalties given, with 1 position change as a result, with this driver, Trampel Car 17, gaining a place as I believe that was Gunses shuffling back as a result of a penalty, but still with appeals ongoing, that's gonna be a lengthy one, because drivers are definitely not kind on losing some time, losing some positions because of a penalty, and a couple of them were close calls, so we'll see where it goes from here on out. We have about 4 minutes to go. Looking right now at 9 cars. We'll see if anybody else shows up for the event itself. Otherwise, it's gonna be a little bit of a small field today. Some people decided to show up quite late, and some people decided to pull out quite late as well. So we'll see how it shakes out. For now, still waiting for all the drivers to appear. And while we still have a few minutes to, I guess, wait for the drivers to complete their last practice laps, might as well check the championship standings. Here is the Drivers' Championship, as it stands after 7 races. Photon Burst is in the lead, but the gap is down to just 9 points. That'll be 3 positions. Gunses stays in 3rd, and Not James is improving up to 4th place after a great weekend with his teammate Ken Miles in Watkins Glen. A couple of shuffles back and forth at the bottom part of the standings as well. In the teams championship, just 5 teams scored points, and the gaps are now large. Hi Racing improved to 3rd overall with a great weekend, but other than that, PRT Traffic Light is increasing the gap to Racing Team Intel race by race, and seemingly they don't plan on stopping anytime soon, so the Porsches will need a great weekend to climb back up and maybe close that gap just a tiny little bit. But for now, with 2 minutes to go, we're gonna have a short break, and when we return, we're gonna be ready for the qualifying. Don't go anywhere.
stopped. He stopped. Somehow we was like, fuck you. I'm not hurrying.
And we are back, and the first driver is out on their outlap for the one-shot quality. It's going to be Salty, the first driver. We also have the voice chat available for the qualifying, so the commands are going to be given by race control and all the other aspects through it.
Thank you. Grinder, get ready. Starting the step, I can go.
So here goes the fast lap of the first car. That's gonna be Salt Cedar. Remember, one fast lap and that's done. So the next car is gonna be Mr. Grinder. He is now on the outlap behind the car on the fast lap. So once he starts his fast lap, car 55 will be done by then. So that would be the marker, and that would be the benchmark. So every lap, one car will be on the hot lap and will be ready to start their first, well, and only attempt of setting a qualifying time for the only race of the day. Salt Cedar navigates the middle sector, and currently we don't have, well, any solid information on how good his lap is, as he's going to be the first driver to cross the line
Spitfire, get ready.
and set the first benchmark. As we can hear race control, and here is the first time he crosses the line, and that's 1:23.230. That's the first time
Go for Spitfire.
of the day. Mr. Grinder now goes for his fast lap of the day. The German driver, the only Lamborghini in the field, starts his fast lap. With aggressively blinking hazard lights as per usual. Also, I forgot to say hi to Psychedelics, so hi to Psychedelics when you watch this back. I did not ignore you, so have at it. The second car, we're going on board with the Lamborghini Huracan. 1:00.579 is the split time for the second sector. A little bit of a wiggle for Mr. Grinder. That might cause him a lot at the end. So as he navigates the final turns and exits on the start-finish straight and posts the time of 1:22.170. He's now on provisional pole as Spitfire.
Go for trumpet.
Nissan is gonna be starting his fast lap. The only Nissan in the field, the Russian driver, is gonna try his best to beat the Lamborghini, who got almost a second, well, more than a second ahead of Salt Cedar in Porsche, so definitely not the best lap for the German. Next car is going to be Trempel. He is now on the warm-up lap behind Spitfire. So go on board with the Nissan, see if that big boy has any turn in him. Nissan definitely has all of the power and then some, but the question is, does he have any turn in momentum and any turn in, I guess, haste We can see that big hunk of junk understeer a lot on his fast lap. 102.1 is the split time. 100.5 was Mr. Grinders. So that's just a little bit behind Southseeder at the second split as Spitfire approaches the hairpin and now punches the throttle and crosses the line. 123.7. That's not good enough. He stays in third out of 3. Next car, Trampel starts his fast lap. His teammate McLaren Tim is going to be the next one to start, but for now the 17 Porsche is off for the races. That's the second Porsche and the second Racing Team Intel entry of the day. His teammate Southseeder posted 123.230, which is currently the second fastest time behind Mr. Grinder. We're gonna have 2 Porsches in a row. Remember, we have 3 Audis in the 2 leading teams. So that's gonna be a battle. Audis are starting later in the session. So the section entering the Rotax, the karting track, to the right hand side with the S's throughout. 100.5 is the fastest time. Trampel at 101.2.6 behind, which means he is faster than Southseeder currently. A little bit squiggly, and that's grass, and that might compromise his lap time. He's proceeding.
Poznan, get ready.
And completes the lap, and that's gonna be 123.226.
Go Photon.
4 thousandths of a second quicker than his teammate. Incredibly tight time between Trampel and Southseeder. Fortenburst, the first of Audis, is gonna be next, but currently on the fast lap is car 71. The second place. Yes, the second place in the championship, the American McLaren Team, Racing Team Intel Porsche. So he is looking to beat Mr. Grinder's time, as Photon is gonna be pretty rapid. 0.4 of a second quicker than Mr. Grinder in the first split. You will be able to see on the bottom right, that is the split time, and that is the time to beat for everyone right now. So 100.9 was the second split time as McLaren Team exits the S's, and let's see what the time is. 100 flat, half a second faster. He still has a couple of corners to go. Enters the back straight, the next will be the right-hander. And then he enters the start-finish straight, and what would be the time? 121.47 tenths faster. Great result by McLaren Tim, and now he is on provisional pole. But will it be for long? The first of the Audis, the championship leader, Fortenburst, car 28, the Dutchman, is on his flying lap. 121.4 time to beat. And this time at the bottom right we will see the splits compared to McLaren Tim. So that would be the hard challenge for Photon. Just 1 lap for him to make sure he finishes ahead of Tim. 30.8, 2 tenths slower than Tim. So the first sector goes to the Porsche. Second sector. Let's see if we can go on board and find a fitting angle. There we go. Fortenburst from inside his car, looking if there is any sliding, any uncomfortable driving. But for now the car seems rather glued. But is he too safe or not? 0.0043. He almost compensated all that gap. And now the question is, who's gonna be faster in the third sector? It's all to play for in the final corner. Photon takes as much space as he can, and now Cross the line 700ths of a second quicker, and Photon Burst is the new man on pole. Slower sector 1, but went faster in second and third sector and managed to just steal the pole from McLaren team by less than a tenth. Next driver, the Audi 000 of Gunses, the PRT traffic light entrant, the third in the championship currently, and he is going to be measured against his teammate who is letting him through right here. 31.1 is the time to beat. He is slower, but remember, Tim was faster in sector 1 than Photon by about 2/10. So if he's slower than Photon, he's almost 3/10 behind Tim now, and Tim might be his actual rival here. So let's see if Gunses also improves like Photon did towards the middle and the end of the lap. Navigating past the karting track. 1:00.109 is the time. 3/10 slower. He's not improving like Photon did. So now, if he's not improving, he might drop below McLaren team as well. He needs a stellar last corner. Third sector, just a couple of corners, so he needs all the power he can get out of a turn, and he approaches the start-finish line, he crosses it, and not good enough. 21.679, and he slots in third overall. The next car on the road is gonna be Viperian. That's 8th driver out of 9, and the last car is gonna be our, well, race director in qualifying, acting race director. Psychedelics. So for now, Viperian car number 05, the PRT Black Kiwi entry. Don't have a live timing available as it seems, so we might just be able to see the final time. Unfortunately, not able to track him directly. So let's just go in the Mercedes with him and enjoy the ride with the Kiwi. He'll be battling Salt Cedar and a Spitfire, well, and Trampel since they're all together. Let's see who handles the pressure better. The S's in the second sector. Needs a good exit. Once again, we don't see the time here at the timing split. So we just gotta wait and see where he goes. Now he's on the back straight with one corner to go. The Mercedes is a little bit heavier, but he has the oomph on the straights. So let's see if he's able to get that oomph all the way to the line. He crosses the line. And looks like the time is no good. So he might have extended the track limit somewhere. So that time is not on the timing board. So looks like he is currently 8th and last. Speaking of last but not least, the car that used to be number 14, now car number, well, 93, and this graphic is still outdated because thank you, Psychedelics, much appreciated. Psychedelics, the final Audi, the final car in the qualifying, and the final member of Team PRT Traffic Light is gonna be round out our qualifying if Autumn Racing does not show. So that's Psychedelics round out the final corners of the second sector. 1:00 flat is the time to beat for pole. 1:16, 1.5 seconds back. That's the pace. 22.8. So that'll be in front of Trampel and Salt Cedar if he manages to keep that gap. But that's pretty tight. That's about 3/10 in it. So the German needs a good run out of a final turn. And let's see the possibly final time of the qualifying. Cross the line 23.126 by just a tenth ahead of Trampel, and Psychedelics is in 5th. So looks like without one more car joining, that's gonna be Photon Burst on pole from McLaren team, Gunses, Mr. Grinder, Psychedelics, Trampel, Salt Cedar, Spitfire, and looks like Viperian failed to set a valid time. So we'll wait and see what's gonna happen regarding the 10th car. We still have 10 minutes worth of qualifying left, so we're gonna have a note from race control whether we're gonna wait or if we're gonna proceed with the race itself. But for now, these are 9 cars. That is a fancy rear end of the Mercedes. So now we wait for the information of whether we're gonna go or we're gonna wait for about 10 minutes that are remaining in the qualifying session for the last car to appear. Also waiting on a word from race control.
We will have to wait the time out, sadly, because I don't think we get a proper result with this. I just want to play it safe.
Have a good stretch break.
Okay, so looks like race control has declared that they'll need to wait. So need to wait for the time to run out while awaiting for possibly one more driver. So we're gonna have to sit and wait for a bit regardless. So might as well use that time with let's just say receiving some useful information from Phoenix Racing Club, also known as a commercial break. We'll be back with you in a minute. But for now, don't go anywhere.
He stopped. He stopped. Laps on my wheels like fuck you. I'm not hurting. I hit the wall, but I hit one of the bumps because I lost. Heavy damage, heavy damage. Don't try to kill yourself. GT3, get a GT3. He's fucking idiot. At least I think something bad happened to somebody in front of us. Welcome to Daytona. Checker flag. Fantastic job, everyone.
Drive me down.
Well, hello, welcome back, as we are awaiting for the start at Tor Poznan. The first and only race, 40-minute race, with one mandatory stop for the drivers. And the race this time around, the positions on the grid have been determined by the one-shot qualifying, which has been won by car 28. The driver you see right now, the Dutchman, Photon Burst. He will take the lead for a formation lap, after which the race will start. And alongside him is the person chasing him in the championship as well, car 71, McLaren Tim. Very close behind between two of them. Two different cars, two different tactics, and two very similar results. On the second row, Photon's teammate, Gunses, the Latvian. We'll see if they're going to be working together with the car behind as well, the car 93 of Psychedelics. So we have three PRT traffic light cars on the left row at the start. On the right side we have the Lamborghini of Mr. Grinder in the Porsche sandwich. You see car 17 behind him. That'd be Trampel. So interesting to see how that goes. But for now, we are awaiting for the lights and we are awaiting for the formation lap at Tor Poznan. 40 minutes, one stop, plus one lap at the end, and we are going for the formation. Remember, rolling start. So everybody will have some time to warm up their tires, to get ready, to settle in, and go like hell at the start finish. Very interesting to see how that overall is going to work regarding the similarity, I guess, of the pace, but different. I guess different strengths between the Porsche and the Audi again. For the Porsche it was the second sector, the first sector, where he was faster than both Audis, but Photon clawed back and then gained some time in sectors 2 and 3. So let's see if that's gonna be the case throughout the entire weekend, or that one lap actually showed the minute difference in car control and, well, the skill over one lap, or I guess luck over one lap, which is a possibility. Oh, we have a car off the road. That's Photon having a little bit of an adventure. So our leader taking a scenic route to the green flag. But either way, everybody lines up as normal. Nobody has any issues. All 9 cars ready to go. And we're going green at Tor Poznan. Great start by Photon Burst. 71 of McLaren team fell asleep a little bit. He is being challenged, but it looks like there's no severe issue for him to hold second place. Gunsis holds on to third. Further back we have Salt Cedar trying to get past Psychedelics. In front of him, Trampel throws it down the inside of Mr. Grinder, and up to 4th place he goes. Behind, Salt Cedar also throws it by Psychedelics. So 2 Porsches made some ground in the same corner. That might be another word about the strength of the Porsche in the first sector. Might be some good result under braking for those cars. Definitely something to look out for. Meanwhile, for the 2 leaders, cars 28 and 71 driving away from the rest of the field but staying close together. 40 minutes is a long time, so no need to force the issue now. Lose time and let the field close back up. So if I'm McLaren Tim, and what I expect to see from McLaren Tim is just holding station for now, sitting back, saving some tire, and waiting for either pit cycle or the last dozen of minutes in the race to get past and secure the result he needs. Meanwhile, further back, Trampel still ahead of Mr. Grinder for 4th place as 3 leaders are slowly driving away. And behind them, there is a little bit of a train forming behind Salt Cedar. That'll be Psychedelics on the inside looking to make a move or looking to scare Salt Cedar off the line. It looks like it worked. Salt Cedar went a little bit too wide and compromised his exit, but it seems to be just enough to hold on to the position and not be under fire from the green and black Audi. Behind him, Spitfire and Viperian jostling for 8th. The Division 2 title chase is not the closest, but still plenty of possibilities for the drivers involved, let's just say that. But for now, Linus Stern and 2 Porsches are leading the Lamborghini and an Audi around the track, with both of them waiting to strike. Meanwhile, for the lead, you see McLaren Tim not exactly letting Photon Burst drive away. So now we see it from his perspective. He's on board with the fast lap 22.3 for Photon Burst, but just 22.3 for McLaren Team as well. So the difference is minuscule between the 2 drivers. Will be interesting to see if Photon decides to go now, maybe create a gap and see if it holds to the end. For now, Team is holding station, Team is seemingly waiting and not forcing the issue, as we said earlier. The first 5 or so minutes are being concluded, and look here, Team is much deeper on the brakes than Photon. It looks like a solid advantage for the Porsche throughout. They're able to be much later on the brakes in hard and long braking zones, but the chicane nullifies all that advantage as Photon just drives away again. So it looks like the handling on that red and black Audi is slightly better. You see the strengths, you see the weaknesses of the cars from the onboards rather well. And it's interesting to see how different they are, given how close they are if you compare lap times. That's the beauty of single class but multiple card series. You see the difference is just 1/10 of a second. Everybody has their strengths. Everybody has their shortfalls, and the job of a driver is to know them and mitigate them as much as they can. If you're chasing, you want to just hang on close enough. Looks like Viperian had a visit to the gravel trap. He rejoins the race safely, but is now quite a few seconds behind Spitfire, who can now breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief. We're still looking at the 2 leaders. As I was saying, as a chaser, you just want to hang back and hang. Whoa! Okay, never mind what I was just saying now. McLaren Team definitely wanted to prove me wrong, as he almost sent it down the inside in a very non-overtaken corner. Looks like Photon Burst is definitely slow there, as Tim is starting to try and find a gap, as now Gunsis is closing down. So Photon is not being the fastest, but he's keeping the Porsche behind, which might be the best possible outcome for the PRT traffic light. Just have a 2-car versus 1 battle. Hang in there, let Tim have his own struggles and see what they can do. So now it's a party of 3. Mr. Grind is still behind Trampale. Psychedelic still behind Saltier. There we go, round the outside goes Mr. Grinder. A little bit of a mistake on the exit by Trampale, and Mr. Grinder just drives around and into the 4th place. Great overtake by the Lamborghini. Now will he be able to drive away? We have to switch to the leaders now once again. Another lap, another attempt by car 71. The Porsche is sniffing the rear bumper of the Audi and has been doing so for almost 7 minutes now. It's a whole different psychological game as well on top of the pure driving contest. You see the cars in your mirror, you see McLaren team already having one severe send, as he was nearly having a moment with photon burst there and having a collision, but he saved it, kept the car going and kept close. So as a leader, you look behind, and if he does the same maneuver, you might be wondering if he can stay on track and if he can keep it honest. But for now, looks like 71 is in trouble himself. He has another Audi right behind him, and I don't think that Audi will be waiting for way too long before making his intentions clear. So being in the mid of an Audi sandwich is not the best place to be for McLaren team now. He might be saving a little bit of tire staying back, but he's definitely getting a little bit more nervous. We've seen a couple of clips of the grass for 71, so if you do it a little bit too much or a little bit too eagerly, that might be a problem. Might be a problem at the corner exit as you lose your acceleration, increase your acceleration time, and the car behind you just drives around, as we've seen between Mr. Grinder and Trempel. Trempel lost a little bit of momentum coming out of a turn, and the Lamborghini was just able to breeze past him. But now we're looking behind. It was close at Psychedelics and Saltseeder are having a race. Psychedelics on the inside, coming towards the last turn. Will he be able to outbrake a Porsche? I don't think so. No chance in hell. That Porsche is still a monster under brakes, and that keeps Saltseeder in 6th place. A good run by Psychedelics, but he stays in 7th. That all allows Spitfire to close the gap just a tiny little bit, almost half a second. Oh, there's a spin! Saltseeder is spinning around, and he goes for a bonus donut. And trying to rejoin the race. That was all a driver mistake for 55. He rejoins the race in 8th place behind Spitfire, who's now close to Psychedelics. And now it's a monumental task for the German to get those 6 seconds he just lost back. Meanwhile, Gunz has lost the leading duo a little bit, and they're starting the song and dance again. See McLaren Tim in the same bunch of corners. He closes down and almost breathes down the rear bumper of Photon Burst, who drives a little bit away in the next couple of turns. So you can see clear advantage of each car, or maybe even clear advantage of each particular driver. Here we go, a little bit of drive by McLaren Tim. He is looking for a place to go. Side by side into turn 1. Hard defense by Photon Burst. Squeezes down, but looks like 71 is trying to cross over. There is the crossover side by side, but Tim is going to be on the outside for the next turn. Gunz is right behind them. They brake hard, they brake late. Another attempted crossover, and it looks like it ended up being a bomb draft by McLaren Tim as Photon Burst just closes down the lane and parks the car in the apex. A great battle. Once again, looks like on the outside is McLaren Team. He needs to be careful. There is another Audi behind him. And there's the move attempted. No, he still stays back. He does not risk that move. He tries it in the most unexpected places, but still can't find a way past that Audi. The Porsche driver is trying his best. He sees another Audi in his mirrors, but he also sees that Audi. Sorry for a bit of a flash warning. There you go. He sees that red and black Audi, a little bit squiggly, and he really wants past it. Beautiful driving by everybody involved in a top 3. You see different lines. Photon goes wide between the turns and stays wide, while McLaren Team chooses the double apex. And it looks like in the end they're all the same. So that's the interesting track. You see how much McLaren Team is able to close down under braking though. If he is close enough to Photon here, he might be able to just send it down the inside. He tried it again. He tried it once before. It did not work out, but if he tries again, all to play for. Once again, dip on the brakes. Side by side, Photon is a little bit loose. There's a chance. There's a chance for McLaren team, and he goes into the lead of a race. A little bit loose by Photon Burst. Photon tries to go all the way to the inside, but he stays in second place. Just a tiny wiggle was enough for McLaren team to stick his nose down the inside and get into the lead of a race. Car 71 is your new race leader. Photon Burst in second, Guns is in third. We've seen that before, and I don't think it's gonna be over soon. Car 71 now would want to build the gap as much as possible, leaving these two behind. Crosses the start-finish line, 22.4. You see 23.3 by Photon Burst. Definitely not the fastest laps by the drivers. So now we see where it goes, and behind, we're looking at the battle between Photon and Gunses. Gunses slots back, but that might have cost him a little bit of time to the leader. That PIT traffic light always said they don't employ team tactics, but they might be a moment that they might want to. They can't lose McLaren team here. And if they start battling, Photon needs their second place. The championship difference is 9 points. With Photon winning the qualifying and McLaren team being second, it's now 10. 10 points is 3 positions. If Gunses parks himself between Photon and McLaren team, that's 2 points worth of a difference before the last endurance round at Nordschleife. That's way too close for comfort. And the two drivers, I guess all three drivers in the championship podium battle know it real damn well. So Photon Burst, if he has to defend against his teammate, he will do so. But that slowly lets Mr. Grinder back into the picture. McLaren team doing his best to just drive away. Almost 2 seconds now, the gap between him and the championship leader. 21.7 personal best and session best for McLaren team. He turned the jets on, and we have an issue. Trempale is off the track. There is big damage to the front and back. That's exit of the last turn, and the German heads into the pit lane. So big moment for the Porsche, and he's heading for some repairs. He is able to serve his mandatory stop now, so he won't lose way too much time, but that spin itself and the repair that will have to be done will certainly harm his chances. So looks like Trempale is gonna be the first car to stick himself on the pit lane. Meanwhile, the battle continues. Photon Burst and Gunses almost letting team get away with it and focusing on their own battle. Team is 2 seconds clear now, while Photon and Gunses are within a second and chasing each other. Gonna be really interesting to see if Photon still tries to catch team later in the race, if he has some aces up his sleeve, or if he's even saving tires now. Another fast lap by McLaren team. 21.7 against 22.1 for Photon Burst. So another 4 tenths in favor of the American. Meanwhile, Saltseeder is closing down on the Nissan of Spitfire after his earlier spin. So let's see how that battle unfolds. Saltseeder would want to clear him as fast as he can to make sure he's continuing to close the gap to his fellow German Psychedelics. And after Trempale's unfortunate crash, it might be another disastrous weekend for Racing Team Intel, as Saltseeder finds himself in 7th, and Trempale is all the way down to 9th. But he's back on the road, just 10 seconds behind Viperian, so it looks like not a lot of time was lost in the pits. That might be an encouraging sign for Car 17, who might not lose as much time as you would have thought. Oh, that's a big slide from the Nissan, another big slide for the Nissan. That might be an opportunity for Saltseeder, but he stays back for now. Tries not to be way too excited about the issues of a car ahead and just matches him up. A little bit of sparky action by the big boy. You see that Porsche is quite loose himself. So a mistake here versus a mistake there equals the same gap as it was when we started. And there is Saltseeder peeling off into the pits. He doesn't want to deal with the opponent on track. He wants to jump him and undercut him. Let's see how that works. He is the second car in the pit lane and both have been racing team Intel Porsches. And let's see where Trampel rejoins concerning Saltseeder. There goes Viperian. Trampel is going to be about 7 seconds behind Viperian here. And there goes Trampel on the foreground. So he'll stay ahead of Saltseeder. Trampel truly didn't lose too much time. The gap between Saltseeder and Psychedelics was 6 seconds. So it looks like Trampel might rejoin ahead of Psychedelics. Just barely after that pit cycle is done. Interesting strategy by Porsches here. Let's see how it works out. They are almost at the halfway through point of the race. And the two Audis continue duking it out. And before things get way too heated, I guess it's as good of a time as any to go to our most brilliant pure sound to see the Audi chase. As a sneaky drink has been had, we can continue shouting into the mic for the second half of the race. That's Viperian in the pits, and it looks like Spitfire had an issue. And meanwhile, there is the important part. There is our leader on the pit lane. McLaren team is the first of the leaders to blink. In the pits, halfway through the race. Let's see where he rejoins and if there will be traffic. Spitfire is 21 seconds ahead of Trampel, but he had an issue, so it looks like Trampel and Saltseeder can jump the Nissan successfully, both of them. Psychedelics is in front. And there's the black and green car. And it looks like everybody else is just far back. Okay, so 6 seconds to Psychedelics for McLaren Tim. and wonder if Psychedelics will peel into the pits before the leader catches him. 8 seconds back a Spitfire, so that's not too important. Trampel with 22-1. The German is flying after his mistake earlier on. But 2 Audis are still in tandem in the lead. Photonburst and Gunsis behind one another as they round out the final turn. And let's see if any of them jumps into the pits. No, they're staying out. They might be trying soft tires at the end. We don't know exactly. But for now, they proceed racing against each other. So you see the tires right now. Everybody is on mediums except for Psychedelics, who is on 16 lap old soft in 4th place. So looks like McLaren team will switch when he crosses the line. Psychedelics in 3rd, Mr. Grinder now in pits. So for McLaren team, it seems like he continues on mediums. And Trampel and Viperian switch from softs to mediums, it seems like. So interesting to see the different tactics of the drivers. As we go back to our normal standings tower, 16.5 minutes left. Mr. Grinder completed his stop, 13 seconds in front of Trampel, but he does have a Spitfire to navigate. Meanwhile, McLaren team is closing down on Psychedelics very fast. And remember, 2 teammates of Psychedelics are in the lead of a race. So we might see some tactical shenanigans here if Psychedelics tries to hold the fort and wait for as long as he can before pitting to let his teammates gain some time back. Spitfire looks to be facing the run, and he actually is on the cotton circuit, so that's not the right way, mate. He'll find the actual circuit sooner rather than later, hopefully, and proceed as he goes. Trampel goes in front, and it looks like, yes, that was on track, so Spitfire hasn't pitted yet, and looks like Viperian might have a chance further on if Spitfire is having as dreadful of a time as now for the rest of the race. 15 minutes and a bit to go, plus 1 lap. And now race leader is encountering issues. The issues is called the driver owner of PRT traffic light in a green Audi ahead. There he is, and it looks like that Audi is in no hurry to move over. He doesn't have to. There's a sand, and it looks like he scared him just enough, but he can get through. So that Audi is defending hard for his team. Now there's a send down. There's a move, and there's a hard move, and Psychedelics is in the grass. Meanwhile, Guns is in the pit lane. Guns is on the pit lane, and that might be a very interesting story. McLaren team tried his best to clear Psychedelics as fast as he can, but will that be enough to stay ahead? Guns now goes. Where is McLaren team? McLaren team exits the pit exit now, so he's ahead. Psychedelics is in the pits as well. He did his job, and he is pitting now. Guns is 4.9 seconds back, 5.6 seconds back, so McLaren team is absolutely flying now. Photonburst will be next, but he was just 1 second in front of Guns's. Now the question is, will there be any follow-up from the stewards regarding that move of McLaren team? If so, Photon might want to stay within 5 seconds, so that race might not be over, and both drivers will be going hard. Psychedelics rejoins right next to Saltseeder. Saltseeder goes around him, so Psychedelics drops to 8th place because of that issue. Spitfire is in front as well by 4 seconds. You can see him right up there. 13 minutes left, and we have some battles. Viperian seemingly having more issues as he is a minute back of Psychedelics. That Mercedes is not been very tame today. He's the only driver who failed to set a qualifying time as well during his one lap quali, so looks like that Merc is not a very friendly machine, let's just say. Oh, never mind, it's just 31 seconds now, but still, half a minute back from everyone is definitely not the good day in the office for the Kiwi. 21.9 for Mr. Grind, a good lap for the Lamborghini. He's sneakily staying there in 4th place with good enough lap time, but now we have a battle. There is 55 versus 93. The Porsche is strong on the brakes, and he does just that. He gets himself a gap under braking and stays in front. There's gonna be just a tiny bit of draft for the Audi, but that's clearly not anywhere near enough to challenge for a position. Fordenburst still stays in the lead, and he's not beaten just yet. And speak of a devil, there is our race leader, Fordenburst, in the pits. Now we're looking at McLaren team on board from car number 71. There's gonna be a race at pit exit. It might be a race for the penalty position. As Tim exits the pit lane, there is still a stationary Audi there in the pits. There goes Tim, and there is Fordenburst. Where is Foden in regards to Gunses? There is Gunses, and Gunses manages to get past. The undercut is superior. And Foden drops to 3rd place. That's a disaster for the Dutchman. 3 seconds back, and now he has to get past his teammate. So if we look at the tires, both Gunses and Foden are on softs now. McLaren team stays on mediums. Psychedelics is another car on softs. So looks like PRT, the Audis, are the only team that decided to have soft tires fitted and try to make them last till the end, which explains late stops for both Gunses and Foden. But for now, they're 5 and 8 seconds back of McLaren team, who will be under investigation from the stewards because of that move on Psychedelics, who is currently challenging for his 8th place. But we'll have to keep an eye out on Fordenburst, possibly closing in on Gunses with 10 minutes to go. Meanwhile, the other Audi, Psychedelics, is still behind Saltcedar, looking for a place to pass. It's not going to be a braking zone. Audi is not strong against Porsche in a braking zone. 21.5 from Team, 21.3 from Gunses. So Latvian is closing the gap because of a soft tire, and his pace is down to 5 seconds on the dot. So if they keep closing the gap, it still might be an open race. Let's see if Foden is able to keep up with the pace offered by the Latvian. The battle here is starting to become a battle for 6, as both the drivers challenging each other are catching up to Spitfire ahead. Now the gap is down to 3 seconds as we tick down into single digits for the minutes remaining in the race. 24 flat by both drivers. They're glued to each other. Psychedelics looks on the inside, and there's a mistake. There's a mistake by Saltcedar on the brakes, and he's sideways and loses a position to Psychedelics. Drops down to 8th. Now Psychedelics is chasing Spitfire, the next target for the German. 2.7 seconds ahead. Psychedelics had that issue earlier on when he had to take the grass after contact with McLaren Tim during the pit stop wave. So he lost some time. Now he's trying to gain some back and gain some positions. The next one will be Trampel. I don't think it's possible. 21.4 for Gunses, 21.3 for Fordenburst, and both of them are still catching McLaren Tim. It might be a little bit too much for Foden though. He's almost 4 seconds back of his teammate, who's catching Tim by about 0.2 a lap. So Gunses is now in the range of a 5-second time penalty, but I'm not sure Foden will manage to get there anytime soon. So with 8 minutes to go, the tension rises and might be our last chance to go to pure sound. So let's not let it go to waste, and let's listen once again to the glorious Audi onboard. Another take is completed after a mistake by the Nissan, and Psychedelics is up to 6th place. But now Spitfire has been caught by Saltseeder, and that battle is gonna continue. Meanwhile, once again, over 5 seconds is the gap between McLaren team and Gunz's. Tim is starting to go fast again. 21-4, 21-3. And another issue for Spitfire. He drops further down and facing the wrong way, so Nissan is not having a great day in the office. Meanwhile, for the leader, he's catching up to lap traffic. That might be disastrous. That's Viperian. He's known for not getting in the way if he can help it. And now he's looking for a place to let the leader pass. Now he opens up the inside and offers it to the leader, trying to not lose space, going wide, and that's car 71 through. Next one is gonna be Gunz's. But now, with line compromise, McLaren team might be losing a little bit of time. Let's see if the 000 managed to catch him by any considerable amount. The ticker still shows 5 seconds. So that might be the gap we're looking at. 4.7 now, not the best entry, and that's Spitfire entering the pits now with 5 minutes to go, and that's Viperian that's going to be going through to 8th position. Meanwhile, here is Gunz's using all of the road and then some. 21-7 versus 21-9 by Tim, and he is closing the gap again. 4.6, 4.4. It might not be enough, but Gunz's is faster than Photon, and that's some championship implications right now. If it stays as it is, the gap between two leaders is 2 points. If McLaren team gets a time penalty and Gunz's wins, the gap is up by 6. Every position matters late in the championship. The 4th season of Phoenix World Championship leaves the title decider for the last round, and it's gonna be an endurance race at Nürburgring Nordschleife. Don't miss it. It's gonna be March 6th at the same time, 6 p.m. GMT, at the same usual places. So don't go anywhere. The gap up again to 5 seconds. Gunz's is now chasing a lap car, while McLaren team is doing his best to just drive away as soon as he can. Gunz's wants to clear that Mercedes sooner rather than later. Mercedes is a little bit in the way. He's not gonna get much tow, but he's gonna get through here. 21-9 for Gunz's, so they traded the slow laps getting around lap traffic. The gap is back to 5 seconds with 3.5 minutes to go. We are looking at a possible penalty window for McLaren Tim, as he had issue with psychedelics that has been noted and forwarded to the stewards. So there will be an investigation. We don't know what it's going to be, obviously. If there's going to be any penalty, if there's going to be a time penalty. We don't know any of it, but we might consider it since the gap is now really, really close. If we consider a possible time penalty. Fordenburst is losing time, 4.7. So not the best race for the Dutchman. He was in the lead early on, but then it disappeared, and after the midway point of the race, he's definitely not been the fastest driver there. 5 seconds flat between our two leaders. Here's the Latvian Gunses using all of the available road and then some. The steward warned everybody once again about track limits, so repeated violations will give harsher penalties, and it's gonna be strictly monitored throughout the race. So if anybody's abusing grass at some points, it's gonna be picked up, and there's gonna be a long talk with those drivers. Gap is up to 5.2. Drivers are trading fast laps. We have 2 minutes left in the race plus 1 lap. Here's your leader, a Porsche number 71. We go on board with him. He's trying to churn out lap after lap here. Couple of personal bests for Mr. Grinder and Spitfire, as McLaren team does everything he can possibly do to keep that gap as high as possible, get clean qualifying laps done. .7 was the gap at some point. McLaren team is now starting to drive the wheels of his Porsche, but once again it might be riskier to do so. These are all tires. Those are mediums though, so no soft compound for the Porsches. They have been reporting some instability in the car throughout the season, so probably fitting tires that tend to degrade quickly and offer considerable struggles late in their tire life. Well, might not be the best of choices. 22 flat for Gunses, definitely not a good lap, and the gap is growing again. 50 seconds left, so it looks like we gotta get 2 more laps here in the race. Gunses does see the leader, but the leader is slowly creeping away. Everybody else has significant gaps between them. Another fast lap for Mr. Grinder, 21.582. Very good lap for the Lamborghini, and another fastest personal lap by Spitfire in the last position currently. Everybody's gaps are large, but this gap between two leaders might shrink in post-race, so we're still keeping an eye on it. 5.5 seconds between them, but for now McLaren team has turned on the jets and is driving away considerably quickly. 5.5 it is still, as the timer is gonna expire here in 1 second, and leader is gonna have 1 more lap at the end of this one. So 1 corner plus 1 lap. 5.4. Gunses needs a lap of his lifetime to get into the penalty window, and the white flag waves for McLaren team, 21.8. And the time is 22 flat for Gunses. He's not been fast enough. Another issue for Fordenburst. He's now 10 seconds back, so the Dutchman is not having the greatest of times, 26.9. So that Audi is being a handful. Let's see if he's able to just bring it home. He's not in any battle right now. He just needs to finish this race. Meanwhile, this guy has been absolutely enormous this entire race. Hard racing moves, just hard battle with Fordon early on, and then he drove the absolute balls out of his car, and that reportedly unstable Porsche has been tamed at Tor Poznan by the driver of the car 71, McLaren team, the American, reigning, defending, undisputed Phoenix World Championship, well, champion. So 1 corner to go, and the gap seemingly only grew from the last lap. It's now over 6 seconds as McLaren team crosses the line as a winner, and Gunses is the second to do so, more than 6 seconds, so McLaren team should be safe. Photon Burst having an issue after the halfway mark, losing time and only managing a 3rd position, which makes the championship a 1 position race at the end. Mr. Grinder with a good result for himself. 4th place, couple of good laps churned out at the end, with the 4th place for himself. An unlucky start for car 17 Trampel. After gaining 4th place, he spun out, had to do some damage limitation, and finds himself in 5th at the end of this race. So he'll be the 2nd classified car of racing team Intel. Psychedelics, after contact with our race winner, manages to salvage 6th place, overtaking both Saltseeder and Spitfire, who later had more issues, and aforementioned Saltseeder is the last car on the lead lap. Car 55 is gonna finish 7th in front of Viperion in 8th and Spitfire in 9th. And that is your race for today. Beautiful weekend for our title contender McLaren team. Great result, and well, I guess he would have to be the first one we have to call up in our booth. Hello, Tim.
Hey, Jordan.
Let me actually make you a little bit louder. And there we go. So,
Hello?
absolutely stellar performance in the race. After starting second, having to fight through, and then just driving away. Did you finally tame the Porsche?
I don't know, to be honest. I didn't have... This might have been the least prep I've done since the start of the season, so maybe I ought to prep less. But, yeah, I mean, I think our Watkins Glen setup carried over surprisingly well. Saved us a lot of time on setup work, and yeah, that was I think my best executed race also. Yeah, I didn't spin for once, so that's also a plus.
So give us a little bit of a debrief on the incident with the car 93 Psychedelics.
Yeah, so I was battling him. For a second it looked like he kept the position after going off track, but yeah, I just wanted to get past him as soon as possible. Had a bit of a look into a corner, but I locked up with the ABS, so thankfully we avoided any damage to our cars, but yeah, it was a bit of a mistake. But yeah, other than that, I think, you know, it's just something for stewards to review.
So with this result, if my math is correct, heading into the final weekend at Nordschleife, the gap for the championship is 2 points. It cannot be any closer. So with Photon and yourself having to duke it out with 1 hour on the clock at the Nordschleife, how do you fancy your chances?
I'm not thinking so much about the battling. I'm just thinking about whether or not I can be bothered to do that race, because Nordschleife is obviously an extremely difficult track. A bumpy one too. Might not suit the Porsche. It'll require a lot of work to prep for it, so debating on whether I'll make time for it. But yeah, if I do show up, hopefully we'll have a good race and a good show. So.
Alright, well, congratulations with the victory, and hopefully see you in the finale.
Cool, and thanks for the broadcast.
Alright, let us... Well, if we're gonna call up one of them, we're gonna call up both of them. Hello, Photon.
Okay.
So, not the greatest of the races for you after a stellar qualifying. It seems like everything fell apart in the second half of the race. Did something happen?
Not really. I've just had a really busy week, so I was kind of out of shape, and yeah, there was just a lot of stuff going on. Tim was putting so much pressure on me, and I tried to keep him back, which took a lot of energy. And yeah, then I kind of made a mess up of my strategy. I was like, I'm going to like stay out really long, and then switch to the softs, so I have like a really I can just push as much as I like. But by waiting so long, the gap was so big that I couldn't really do anything. And yeah, basically towards the end, my concentration kind of started to slip, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to coast it home, make sure that I don't crash anywhere, and then obviously you crash. So yeah, that's kind of all that happened. But yeah, I mean, big kudos to Tim. Like, he was just so fast. I don't think I could have kept up with that.
So, the first time Phoenix World Championship used the proper one lap quali. Looking at your laps compared to Tim, you lost 2/10 in the first split, but then gained in the second and third. I'm not gonna ask about the car setups, but how did it feel to have just one lap to get it done?
It actually felt really good. I was actually quite afraid because normally my qualifyings are like really progressive. So like, you know, you have the room to set a banker so you don't put it all on the line. And then you can use your delta to kind of gauge how good you're doing and where you can gain some and where you can lose some, that kind of stuff. And to not have that was actually kind of refreshing. Like, you're kind of driving blind and it's more about, you know, driver skill instead of you know, knowing where the gains are. And yeah, it was also quite tense to kind of see everybody do their laps and not really knowing where you would end up. So yeah, I actually kind of liked it.
Okay, and if my math is right, which might not be true, the gap between you and McLaren team heading into the final race of the season is 2 points. That's one position, and that's Nordschleife. How do you fancy your chances?
Well, I mean, it's a longer race, so I'll definitely have to do more prep for it. Yeah, to kind of get in shape and make sure that I can actually keep the concentration for the full hour. But yeah, I'm like, the Nordschleife is one of my favorite tracks, and generally I am relatively fast at it as well. Whether it's enough to, you know, match or beat Tim, we'll have to see. Because like, that Porsche was a dragon to drive at first, and they seem to really have like dialed it in. Like, they were the ones that well, usually we're complaining about curbs and bumps and like, don't touch this, don't touch that, because it's so unstable. But especially this round, they seemed really on it. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how that develops. But yeah, I guess it's all about, you know, improving myself first, and then we'll see where it ends up.
All right, thank you so much, and good luck in the finale.
Yeah, no worries.
And while we're here, we might as well grab another member of that team who might have an interesting perspective to share with us. Psych, hello, do you hear us?
I do, hello.
So, well, obviously all the questions today are gonna be regarding that battle with McLaren team. First of all, were you playing the team game there?
Not really. I mean, I was generally slower than him, so I was bound to hold him up just by being there, I guess. But I was trying to at least get a little bit of a fight out of it, which went well until that little bump he gave me.
So,
yeah.
So yes, regarding that bump, how could you describe it from your point of view?
Well, I tried giving him space, because I noticed that he was going for the inside, and had my car stepped the rear a little bit, but caught it, and then just got a hit on the inside and went off track because of that.
Alright, so now considering your team rather than yourself, already asked both participants in that possible battle, but seemingly 2 points will separate Photon Burst and McLaren team before the final race of the season. Will you guys be preparing something as a team to help Photon? Maybe try some tactics, maybe try some late, maybe try some stops or anything, or will you just try to get the car as fast as possible and the driver as fast as possible?
We haven't really talked about the Nordschleife race yet, so any strategies or something like that might come, but who knows. Obviously we will try to get the car as fast and stable as possible, which is quite a challenge for the Nordschleife combination, since obviously we have to deal with the Nordschleife itself and the GP track, which normally both require quite different setups, so it's gonna be a challenge, definitely.
Okay, and regarding the longer race, it seems like today Photon had a little bit of an issue coming towards the second half of a race. He blamed lack of concentration and slight fail on strategy, but as we are going into a 60-minute race, will there be some special consideration and more race practice to figure out the tactic for this to avoid a repeat of today's race?
If the time allows for us, I think we will do a bit more practice, especially for the race stints, since it's right now we are not even sure if the car is gonna make it fuel-wise or how the tires are gonna hold up, which we will have to test and then see about it.
Okay, well, 1 round to go. You guys are on top of team standings, but the Drivers' Championship is wide open, I guess, for all of you. So, good luck and see you on track for the finale.
Thank you, and bye.
Alright, I believe that is gonna be it for us for today. Apologies to the remaining drivers in the voice chats. After every race I want to interview everybody, but I feel like I'll be repeating myself with all the questions to the rest of them. So hopefully the race spoke for them well enough. But for now, it is time to end. And we have one more race in the championship. Don't go far. It's gonna be the title decider, and it's as close as possible between the two leaders. See you guys on March 6, 6 p.m. GMT at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. On that note, thank you all so very much for watching. I'll see you next time, but for now, this is goodbye.